Welcome to Beyond the News with Faye. Hello everyone, I'm Faye. Do you remember the last Hollywood blockbuster you've watched? Nowadays, we often see a lot more Chinese elements in Hollywood movies. Either a bustling Chinese city or a Chinese hero who saved the day or a Chinese beauty. Why is it like that, you may ask? The answer is not because the director loves China. Instead, it is their way of pandering to the Chinese Communist Party, and they have been doing it for years. Today, we'll talk about Hollywood. There are so much stuff that we can talk about when it comes to stories from Hollywood, things like the Hollywood pedophile, the Satanic Cult, etc. Let's just talk about one thing today that I think is the most important and has the deepest and the biggest impact on the Western culture, which is Hollywood's kowtowing to the CCP. Chris Fenton, a Hollywood producer who has worked in the field of cultural exchanges between China and the United States for nearly 20 years, once said in an interview that he had a job for Hollywood studios to establish Sino-American exchanges. To put it simply, that is an advisory consultant to Hollywood bosses on how to better access to the Chinese market, such as how to better fit into the Chinese consumer's appetite, how to prevent censorship from the Chinese Communist Party, etc.
Is that the CCP does not like time travel. In fact, it's banned from showcasing in movies or in various storytelling, especially from the West. And part of that is they want to control the narrative of where the future is going.
So how did he provide the consultation exactly? He said his Chinese colleagues would take the responsibility to communicate with the Chinese officials. Most of the time, they need to make certain commitments in order to get the permission for the movie to be aired in China, and these promises will eventually come to Fenton. Then Fenton would need to go to the Hollywood producers, directors to discuss how to meet these needs, such as the shooting location of the film, how to set certain characters, and how to avoid a variety of different angles of censorship.
One of the things that China was extremely strict on us about was if you're going to have access to this market and you're going to have access to market and promote this movie far beyond most movies, you need to shoot the movie here.
For example, in the film Iron Man 3, the Chinese Communist Party hopes to show its great enthusiasm for the development of science and technology, the so-called positive image for China, and they also hope in this film China can be the center of global scientific and technological development and innovation. With this request, Fenton and producers have to make certain changes to combine the needs of the CCP and the content. One of the ideas they discussed at that time, Fenton recalls, was to add a character who was a child of a Communist Party member, and the child takes the role as constantly helping the protagonist, Tony Stark, including Tony's bounce back at the end. It is just one of the many proposed ideas, and the final version of the film, aired in China, was not about the Chinese boy, but the Chinese doctor, which is played by the famous Chinese actress Fan Bingbing. In the movie, this Chinese doctor is the only one with the medical skills to save Tony's life. And this segment happened to be questioned by critics when it was released, as the scene was completely out of the blue with no introduction. Who would have thought that this was due to the CCP's explicit request? This is just one of many examples, and it gives us a glimpse into how exactly the seemingly unintended Chinese elements in Hollywood movies come about, and how the Chinese Communist Party controls Hollywood movie production. Each year, only 34 Hollywood movies are allowed to enter the Chinese market, so it is very easy for the CCP to put forward a little propaganda request in these 34 films. For the people living in China, everything they watch, hear, and read are censored. They will only see and hear positive things about the Chinese Communist Party, and they won't be able to find anything negative about the authoritarian government. So, for these imported Hollywood movies, this content will also be censored by the CCP to make sure that the content is in alignment with the party's propaganda. Do you feel sad for the Chinese public? Leave me a comment below. And there is more. Fenton revealed that the CCP censorship has now extended out from China. The CCP is actually deciding on the content of some Hollywood's movies for global audiences. For example, in the original version of the Top Gun 2, Tom Cruise was wearing his famous leather jacket with the flag of Taiwan and Japan printed on it. The Chinese Communist Party asked to remove the flags. The studio then replied, "Okay, we will remove these flags from the film that are shown in the Chinese market." But the CCP demands more. That is, these flags need to be removed not only for the films shown in China, but also in all versions released worldwide. That is to say, audiences all over the world can't see that real image of the leather jacket Tom Cruise was wearing at Top Gun 2.
The CCP is actually exuding their influence with soft power beyond their borders and telling our companies what they can and can't show to the rest of the world.
So you see, nowadays, most of the movies produced in Hollywood will show you quite an obvious self-censored picture for China. Images of China will be positive, harmony, prosperity, beauty, all the good stuff. After all, who doesn't want to have a piece of the Chinese market with a quarter of the world's audiences? But if you can just think about it a little bit, for those who have never been to China, they are seeing a very good image of China. So the CCP is exporting its ideological revolution very successfully, at least via Hollywood. The stories of Hollywood's kowtowing to the Chinese Communist Party is not as eye-catching as other stories, such as the pedophile ring in Hollywood. But if you get to know more of the CCP, I think you won't be surprised to see why I said it's the most profound issue. Hollywood, as a leader of the global film industry, is a symbolic force in spreading the American value and culture around the world. And it wouldn't even try to offend CCP in the slightest. For example, in Mission Impossible 3, there was a worn-out underwear hanging in the Shanghai apartment that was asked to be deleted. Yeah, what a shame, what a censorship. Now, in most of the Hollywood movies, you would only be seeing the romanticized version of China, even though these are the fake images. Giving the world a false image of the Great China is only a part of the CCP's global ambitions. But this is one of the most hidden strategies the CCP is employing, hence one of the most dangerous ones. And it is continuously affecting people, brainwashing not just the Chinese, but people worldwide. So that's why we're talking about this most unnoticeable but most dangerous Hollywood dark side. Surely we're going to talk about it further in future programs. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so. Like and share the video to help us to bring the message out and loud. What we talked about today is just the tip of the iceberg. You may want to ask why Hollywood is pandering to the Chinese Communist Party. About money? Yes, of course. But there is more. It is not that simple, and it is related to years of erosion by the Chinese Communist Party with clear intention. You won't be able to imagine that Hollywood is no longer a factory that conveys American culture and values, but has unwittingly become a propaganda weapon for the Chinese Communist Party in the United States. Why did I say so? Hit the subscribe button and you will know the answer in our next program. Thank you for watching today's Beyond the News with Faye. I'm Faye. I'll see you again very soon.